Fungi play a critical role in the forest ecosystem, acting as decomposers. Logs, leaves, branches would build up to such levels that this forest would be impassable. Through the work of various mushrooms and other fungi, the organic material is turned back into soil. This log, it's probably been laying here 10, 15 years, is slowly being worked on by invisible forces of the fungi mycelium. The leaf litter that you walk through at Beaver Lake is also being decomposed by various things like mites, bacteria, and of course fungus. It's late May, so we'll be on a search for spring mushrooms at Beaver Lake. Sometimes you only have to look a few feet off the trail to find mushrooms. This species is growing in the leaf litter off the Three Meadows Trail. To properly identify a fungus, it's best to take a cap and put it on a piece of paper, preferably one that's half white and half black. Overnight, the reproducing spores are deposited, creating a pattern. You can see the color of the spores, whether they be dark on the white half or a lighter color on the dark half. So this initially to me looks like an agaricus species related to the meadow mushrooms or the table mushrooms that we eat for dinner. Let's continue down the trail and see what we can find. This mushroom, also growing in the leaf litter, perhaps in the mulch on the side of the trail, is a Stropharia, the genus of mushrooms that commonly grow in mulch and leaf litter. This is known as the wine-capped Stropharia, oftentimes the cap being almost a burgundy color. This happens to be more of a chocolate brown. A fungus is composed of primarily mycelium, which are loosely coined as the roots of the fungus, but in fact the mycelium are the main part of the organism. They wind their way through a substrate like this leaf litter, absorbing nutrients and water, and over time develop enough energy to create these fruiting bodies, which we know as mushrooms. Spores are produced on the lower part of the mushroom surface, in this case gills. Here some mushrooms have fallen over, exposing the gills. The spores are minute microscopic particles that contain the DNA of the next mushroom. A spore is airborne, settles on a surface, and under the right conditions germinate, sending out a hyphae strand. These hyphae merge and create mats called mycelium, and again over time, with the right conditions, will eventually fruit into a mature mushroom. Here we find an interesting fungus, a group of fungus known as the Sac Fungi. The last specimens we looked at were in the group Basidiomycetes. The spores are borne upon a surface called the basidium, which is microscopic, located in the gills. This fungus, called an ascomycete, has the spores borne in a sac called an ascus. A lot of sac fungi or ascomycetes are very small. This happens to be quite large. They call them cup fungi. This one's growing perhaps on a log that's buried underground. An early sac fungus or cup fungus is called the scarlet cup. It gets its name from its bright red color. Often in the sugar bush when we're tapping maple trees after the snow's melting away, it's one of the first fungi to be seen. Another very important ascomycete is the morel. We're nearing the end of its fruiting season, but if we look hard enough, we might still find one or two. This is the larger yellow morel, Morchella exulenta, another choice edible. Late in the season for this mushroom, it enjoys fruiting in spring rains. So begin looking for these morels in the first week of May. The soil temperature has to be around 55 degrees. So snow and frosts will deter this from fruiting. Again, the most famous ascomycete bears its spores inside in a microscopic ascus. It's often associated with dying elm trees, ash trees, and found in old apple orchards. There it is, the yellow morel. As we all know, fungi are very important decomposers in the forest. This log has been decomposed over many, many years by fungus, and it exhibits what's called brown cubicle rot. The fungus lived primarily on the cellulose component of the wood, leaving the lignin behind, creating these square cubes which are brown in color, hence the name brown cubicle rot. It looks at one point that the log was used as a nesting cavity for birds. It's also riddled with small holes caused by beetles. These holes will be reused by native pollinators who lay their eggs and bring food of pollen or perhaps other insects, if they're parasites, to feed their larvae. So these downed logs become their own micro-ecosystem here at Beaver Lake. In addition to being decomposers, fungi can also be parasitic and cause diseases or deformation in trees. This small maple is attacked by an ascomycete known as Utapella, causing a large open canker to develop on the trunk. This canker is lined with microscopic parathecia, which distribute the spores as the fungus matures. Small trees like this might be killed by this fungus, but larger trees are just disfigured and cause a reduction in lumber value. So this is Utapella parasitica, a common disease fungus found in the forest. At first, it might just look like a limb fell from this tree, but to the trained eye of a mycologist, this is a disease-causing parasite, the Utapella canker. Another mushroom that appears about the same time as morels is this shelf fungus, an annual shelf fungus called Dryad Saddle. Here it's growing on a dead elm log, and it can get to quite large size. Right now, this is about the size of a small hand. It can get the size of a frisbee. It's a soft shelf fungus called a polypore. Instead of gilled surface underneath, the bottom is riddled with small pores where the spores come out and become airborne to hopefully land on another log to begin the process over. This is the Dryad Saddle. Well hidden in the leaf litter along the side of the trail are some puffballs from last year's late fall fruiting bodies. These puffballs are well known for their spores, hence the name puffball. So that brown, smoky dust are millions of spores entering the air. So this puffball has a relative, the giant puffball, which is a choice edible. Found in pastures and in forests, giant puffball can get to enormous sizes, even the size of a soccer ball. So these are common puffballs, also known as tumbling puffballs, because when they mature, they become free from their substrate to blow around, and then the rain and wind help to distribute their spores. So far, the fungus that have been discussed are annual fungi, which fruit for a short period of time, send out their spores, and then die off. Here at the base of a hemlock tree is a very interesting fungus called the Varnish Shelf. It's just starting to grow, and if you look closely, you'll see the surface is a reddish color and it's very shiny. This is also called reishi fungus, and some species are known to have medicinal properties. So this is a perennial fungus. It will keep growing and growing, adding on a little bit each year. And it's a decomposer. As you can see, it's growing on a dead hemlock stump. This is a polypore again, like the Dryad Saddle and some others that we'll look for in the forest. The spore surface consists of tiny pores underneath where the spores come out. So this is the shellac fungus. Look for it on the Hemlock Hollow Trail and anywhere there's eastern hemlocks growing. The final fungus we'll look at are a very interesting group called the polypores. The spore surface is tiny pores where the spores come out. This, like the shellac fungus, is also a perennial. This is the horsehole fungus or tinderbox fungus. It's growing here on a dead beech tree, and it grows year after year. In fact, you can see rings similar to that in the cross section of a tree. The leading edge is a little lighter in color, showing the newest growth. The tinderbox fungus was used by the native peoples to hold on to embers from a fire. So when they traveled from camp to camp, the ember would smolder inside the hard wood-like structure. Then they could spill out the ember into a fire full of tinder, and hence they would get a roaring fire in no time. Much easier than using flint or fire by friction. So here's a very interesting fungus, the horsehole fungus, and you can see how it gets its name by the shape. This concludes our spring mushroom tour. Look on Facebook for other interesting virtual videos coming up this summer, put together by our naturalist staff here at Beaver Lake Nature Center.